Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today, we will learn about the explosive storyline that could see Carly facing her most terrifying ordeal, yet as dangerous criminal Jen Sidwell potentially orchestrates a ruthless kidnapping plot designed to finally break Sonny Corinthos and seize control of Port Charles's waterfront territory. A nightmarish attack unfolds. The explosive preview footage released for the dramatic week spanning December 1st through December 5th reveals a chilling home invasion scenario that will leave General Hospital fans gasping in shock. Carly finds herself completely vulnerable and defenseless when an unknown assailant launches a vicious surprise attack from behind while she's alone in her residence during the dark evening hours. The promotional clips showcase Carly desperately gripping a metal fire poker as her only weapon of defense, attempting to fight off her attacker with every ounce of strength she possesses. Despite her fierce determination and fighting spirit that fans have come to admire throughout the years, the element of surprise works heavily against her favor. The brutal reality suggests that whoever meticulously planned this calculated ambush will successfully overpower Carly and render her unconscious within moments. Intelligence gathering indicates there could potentially be multiple perpetrators working in coordination to guarantee Carly's capture, making escape virtually impossible even for someone as resourceful as Carly. Brennan's devastating discovery. Jack Brennan's horrified voice echoes throughout the preview, uttering a shocked and desperate "oh my God" that reveals the gravity of what he's witnessing. This critical audio detail strongly suggests that Brennan will tragically arrive at Carly's residence just moments too late to prevent the catastrophic attack from occurring. The WSB division chief will likely burst through the door only to discover clear evidence of a violent struggle, overturned furniture, and the terrible realization that Carly has been taken against her will. The attackers won't simply be there to harm or threaten Carly. Their sinister mission involves kidnapping her and transporting her to an undisclosed location where Sidwell can use her as a powerful bargaining chip. Given the extremely brief nature of Carly's scene in the promotional material, lasting only a handful of seconds, there exists a strong likelihood that she'll be rendered unconscious through chemical means such as chloroform before being forcibly dragged away into the night, leaving behind only a crime scene for Brennan to discover in horror. Sidwell's calculated masterstroke. Every aspect of this heinous crime bears the unmistakable signature of Jen Sidwell's ruthless methodology and criminal sophistication. The international terrorist and crime lord has been locked in an increasingly intense power struggle with Sonny Corinthos, fighting tooth and nail for dominance over Port Charles's lucrative waterfront operations. When Laura Collins emerged victorious in the highly contentious mayoral election, Sonny successfully won that particular battle by maintaining his political ally in the mayor's office. However, Sidwell remains absolutely determined to win the overall war regardless of temporary setbacks or obstacles placed in his path. His elaborate conspiracy to frame Laura Collins for the suspicious death of Port Charles University Professor Henry Hank Dalton spectacularly backfired, forcing the cunning criminal mastermind to rapidly pivot toward implementing an alternative strategy if he hopes to finally gain the upper hand against Port Charles's most powerful mob boss. This desperate situation creates the perfect storm for Sidwell to target Carly, transforming her from an innocent bystander into a valuable hostage whose life hangs in the balance. The unbreakable bond between exes. While Sonny and Carly officially ended their romantic relationship years ago, their deep connection remains one of the strongest bonds in all of Port Charles despite their divorced status. They've created a family together and share multiple children whose welfare will always unite them regardless of their personal relationship status. The loyalty and devotion these two former lovers continue to demonstrate toward each other far exceeds what typical ex-spouses maintain long after their marriage certificates have been torn up and filed away in dusty court records. Their relationship transcends ordinary friendship, existing in that unique space reserved only for people who have weathered countless storms together, raised children side by side, and repeatedly risked their lives protecting one another from dangerous enemies. Sidwell possesses enough intelligence about Port Charles' power dynamics to fully comprehend that Sonny would absolutely lose his composure and mental stability if Carly suddenly vanished. Without explanation, the criminal mastermind recognizes that threatening Carly represents the one guaranteed method to bring the otherwise unshakable Sonny Corinthos crashing down to his knees in complete desperation. The perfect leverage play. Carly's safe return to her family and loved ones could transform into the ultimate bargaining chip that Sidwell desperately requires to finally secure access to those highly coveted waterfront piers that Sonny has stubbornly refused to surrender despite repeated demands and escalating threats. For months, Sidwell has attempted various tactics to pressure Sonny into relinquishing control of these strategic docking facilities that represent the gateway to immensely profitable smuggling routes and import-export operations worth millions upon millions of dollars. Every conventional approach has failed spectacularly, bouncing off Sonny's ironclad resolve like rain off a steel roof. But kidnapping Carly changes absolutely everything about this dangerous chess match between two ruthless crime lords. This bold move might prove to be Sidwell's long-awaited ace in the hole, the devastating trump card that finally forces Sonny to choose between his business empire and the safety of a woman he still loves deeply despite their complicated history. The psychological warfare inherent in this situation could break even the strongest person's resolve. Family complications run deep. Sidwell's decision to kidnap Carly will catastrophically complicate his relationship with his son Marco Rios in ways the criminal mastermind may not have fully anticipated or considered. Before setting this plot into motion, Marco has developed genuine romantic feelings for Lucas Jones, who happens to be Carly's devoted younger brother and a respected physician at General Hospital. Carly previously issued stern warnings to Lucas about the inherent dangers of associating with anyone connected to the Sidwell criminal organization. Expressing grave concerns about her brother's safety and well-being, Lucas chose to ignore his sister's protective advice, and his deepening romance with Marco has driven a painful wedge between the siblings that grows wider with each passing day. Carly expressed vehement opposition when Lucas made the controversial decision to move into the Gothic Windermere estate, viewing this choice as her brother walking voluntarily into a dangerous trap. The situation threatens to become exponentially messier between Lucas and Marco once the truth emerges about Sidwell's direct involvement in orchestrating Carly's disappearance, potentially destroying their relationship beyond any hope of repair. The beginning of the end. General Hospital spoilers strongly indicate that Sidwell's audacious plan to kidnap Carly may ultimately prove to be the critical tactical error that brings about the international terrorists' complete downfall when everything finally reaches its dramatic conclusion. Abducting Sonny's former wife won't merely enrage the powerful mob boss and transform him into an even more dangerous enemy consumed by righteous fury. This crime will also place Sidwell squarely in the crosshairs of WASB Division Chief Jack Brennan, who has recently developed intense romantic feelings for Carly that have blossomed into genuine love. Brennan will leverage every resource at his disposal within the World Security Bureau, calling in favors from international intelligence agencies and deploying elite operatives to track down his beloved and bring her home safely. The combined forces of Sonny's criminal organization and Brennan's government authority working in unexpected cooperation could create an unstoppable alliance that systematically dismantles Sidwell's entire operation piece by piece. Brennan has sworn to nail whoever orchestrated this kidnapping to the wall, and his determination matches Sonny's legendary ruthlessness. Together, these two powerful men will stop at absolutely nothing until Carly returns home and Sidwell faces ultimate justice for his crimes against Port Charles. Next, we will learn about the compelling developments surrounding Brooklyn Quartermain and Harrison Chase as they navigate their journey toward parenthood and the emotional complexities that have emerged with Joe Palmieri entering their lives in the most unexpected way possible. Delayed dreams of parenthood. Brooklyn Quartermain and Detective Harrison Chase have found themselves at a crossroads when it comes to their family planning aspiration. The couple had been enthusiastically discussing the possibility of expanding their family through adoption, a path that seemed promising and filled with hope. However, circumstances took an unforeseen turn that forced Brooklyn to pump the brakes on these plans. The decision to postpone their adoption journey wasn't made lightly, but rather came as a direct response to the shocking revelation about Joe Palmieri's true identity and his connection to Brooklyn's past. When Joe discovered the truth about his biological mother, the revelation sent shockwaves through his entire world. Learning that Brooklyn had placed him for adoption when she was merely a teenager left him feeling abandoned and unwanted. The young man struggled to process this information, initially interpreting Brooklyn's decision through a lens of rejection. He couldn't understand how a mother could give up her child, and the pain of that perceived abandonment cut deeply into his heart. What Joe didn't initially grasp was the context surrounding that difficult decision made so many years ago. The truth behind the adoption. The reality of Brooklyn's situation as a teenage mother was far more nuanced than Joe initially understood. She was extraordinarily young when she became pregnant, barely more than a child herself, lacking the emotional maturity, financial stability, and life experience necessary to raise a child properly. The decision to place Joe for adoption wasn't born from a lack of love or desire to be his mother, but rather from a profound understanding that she couldn't provide him with the life he deserved at that point in her life. It was an act of selflessness, though painful beyond measure, made with Gio's best interests at heart. Brooklyn wanted him to have opportunities, stability, and a family environment that she simply couldn't offer as a teenager. This backstory adds layers of complexity to the current situation, as Brooklyn has had to live with that decision for years, carrying the weight of wondering about the child she gave up. Now that he's suddenly back in her life, she's faced with the challenge of helping him understand the love behind that impossible choice she made all those years ago. A heartfelt reconciliation. Despite the rocky beginning to their relationship as mother and son, recent events suggest that Brooklyn and Joe are making meaningful progress toward building a genuine connection. A pivotal moment occurred after Joe found himself on the receiving end of his father, Dante Falconeri's anger and disappointment. The situation arose from a series of events involving Gio's younger brother, Rocco Falconeri, who ended up facing serious legal consequences for actions that Joe had helped orchestrate. Rocco was arrested after breaking into Professor Henry Dalton's laboratory, an incident that sent Dante into a rage. The teenagers had concocted a plan to expose Dalton for allegedly conducting inhumane animal testing experiments. Joe, along with Emma Scorpio Drake, had convinced Rocco to participate in this break-in, believing they were doing something noble by gathering evidence of animal cruelty. However, when the teens actually entered the laboratory, they discovered no evidence whatsoever of the animal experimentation they had expected to find. Instead of becoming heroes who exposed wrongdoing, they simply became criminals who had broken into private property. Professor Dalton wasted no time in having Rocco arrested, and the young man found himself facing potential jail time. Dante was absolutely furious about the entire situation, and his anger focused squarely on Joe. In a moment of intense emotion, Dante coldly accused his older son of essentially sacrificing his younger brother just to impress a girl, specifically Emma Scorpio Drake. The accusation was harsh and cutting, suggesting that Joe had prioritized his romantic interests over his brother's welfare and future. Finding comfort in Brooklyn, the confrontation with Dante left Joe feeling devastated, hurt, and rejected by the father who had raised him. In his moment of emotional vulnerability, Joe turned to the one person who might understand what he was going through, Brooklyn. Their conversation became a turning point in their relationship. For the first time since discovering the truth about his adoption, Joe opened up to Brooklyn in a genuine way, and in a moment that brought tears to viewers' eyes. He called her mom for the very first time. This breakthrough moment signified a major shift in their relationship dynamic. By acknowledging Brooklyn as his mother, Joe demonstrated that he was beginning to process and accept the complicated circumstances of his adoption. He was starting to see beyond his initial feelings of rejection and recognize that Brooklyn's decision had been made out of love rather than indifference. This emotional milestone suggests that the wounds are beginning to heal and that a real mother-son relationship is finally taking root between them. Revisiting the adoption plans. With Joe and Brooklyn now on a positive trajectory in their relationship, the timing may be ideal for Brooklyn and Chase to reconsider their plans to adopt a child. The couple's desire to become parents has been well documented, and their commitment to adoption became necessary due to Chase's medical situation. Chase discovered that he is sterile and cannot biologically father children, news that was initially devastating for the detective who had always envisioned having kids of his own. The diagnosis was a blow to Chase's sense of masculinity and his dreams of traditional fatherhood. However, both he and Brooklyn demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability in the face of this challenge. Rather than allowing Chase's infertility to derail their family plans entirely, they chose to embrace adoption as an equally valid and beautiful path to parenthood. They were excited about the prospect of providing a loving home to a child in need, viewing adoption not as a second-best option, but as a meaningful way to build their family. However, when the truth about Joe emerged, Brooklyn wisely decided to pause their adoption proceedings. She recognized that Joe was struggling with the revelation of his own adoption, and she didn't want to complicate matters further or make him feel replaced by bringing another adopted child into the family picture immediately. She wanted to give Joe time to process his feelings and establish a solid relationship with her before moving forward. The perfect timing. Now that Joe appears to be coming to terms with his adoption and his relationship with Brooklyn is strengthening, the timing seems right for Chase and Brooklyn to resurrect their adoption plans. A new baby, whether a little girl or boy, could serve as a unifying force for the entire family. There's something magical about how a new child can bring people together, reminding everyone of what truly matters in life and helping to heal old wounds through the joy and hope that a baby represents. Additionally, a new addition to the family could help ease some of the current tensions brewing between Chase and Michael Corinthos. The two men have found themselves at odds because Chase has become obsessed with proving that Michael's ex-wife Willow is innocent of shooting Drew Kane. Chase's determination to exonerate Willow has put him in the awkward position of potentially implicating Michael's family members, creating friction with Brooklyn's beloved cousin. The investigation has become a source of stress in Chase and Brooklyn's marriage, and a baby might provide the perspective shift Chase needs to recognize what should be his real priorities: family reactions and new dynamics. The extended Quartermain family would undoubtedly embrace a new addition with open arms. Tracy Quartermain, Brooklyn's formidable grandmother, would be absolutely delighted to welcome another great-grandchild into the family fold. Despite her tough exterior, Tracy has always had a soft spot for family, and a new baby would give her someone new to dote on and spoil. Similarly, Ned Quartermain, Brooklyn's father, would be thrilled to have another grandchild to love and cherish, adding to the family legacy he holds so dear. Perhaps most intriguingly, bringing a new child into the family through adoption could actually strengthen the bond between Brooklyn and Joe rather than creating jealousy or division. Joe could step into the role of big brother, giving him a meaningful position within the family structure and a chance to be the protective, caring older sibling. This dynamic could help him feel more secure in his own place within the family while simultaneously deepening his connection with Brooklyn as they both love and care for the new addition. A turning point for Chase and Brooklyn. This situation represents a potential watershed moment for Chase and Brooklyn's marriage and future. By refocusing on their shared dream of parenthood and moving forward with adoption, they can redirect their energy toward building the family they've always wanted. Chase particularly needs to shift his attention away from his investigation into Willow's case and back toward his wife and their plans for the future. His obsession with proving Willow's innocence, while perhaps well-intentioned, has become a distraction from what should matter most: his relationship with Brooklyn and their journey toward parenthood. The couple has weathered many storms together, and this could be the moment when they finally achieve the family they've been dreaming about. With Joe now calling Brooklyn Mom and the emotional groundwork laid for healthy family dynamics, there's no better time than the present to welcome a new child into their home. The adoption would represent not just the fulfillment of Chase and Brooklyn's parental dreams, but also a new chapter for the entire family, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of new beginnings.